Hi there everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you enjoyed my previous video getting to know a little bit about me and what I do. And in today's video we're going to carry on in the same vein, easing into more core topics as the videos progress. This video will be centered around the interview process and some of my tips from my experience in them. I won't be covering the standard things you'll find on Google because although you should learn them, everyone will, so you'll be back to square one in terms of differentiating yourself. In my experience as a young professional, I've sat on both sides of the interview table for entry-level jobs, and I've got 3 top tips for this video from this. You'll notice these tips come from integrity and honesty, enthusiasm and responsibility, and negotiation skills. So my first tip, the best answer is the most common answer. What is your biggest weakness? This question in my eyes is definitely a weak question for an employer to ask, but one that you will definitely be asked when interviewing for positions in your early career. It's a weak question in itself because it doesn't require an honest answer, and most people's answers will be things like, I'm too dedicated, or I work too hard, or I work harder than others, or I put too much effort in. What do you notice about these responses? They're actually positives that are being disguised as weaknesses, in an attempt from the candidate to seem like they have no weaknesses. It's a valiant effort, I admit, but having sat on the opposite side of the table, I can assure you 90% of candidates have figured this out and will answer this way. So when you are, as an employer, hearing this over and over again, which one do you say is better? In fact, they're all answering the same thing. This is why I think it's a weak question. Anyway, the advice I give to you on this, to turn this into a question that differentiates you, is to be honest. Maybe not as honest as I was in my interview, which I'll walk you through in a second, but honestly, what do you think your biggest weakness is? Because we all have them and companies understand this, hence the question. In my interview, I was asked this question towards the end of the interview. My response was, in all honesty, coming from a property development background, I actually have little to no experience in project management and what a consultant project manager does day to day. So I would come into this job having to study and get up to speed with things very quickly. The reason I think this is a good answer is when you compare it to the others, you can see immediately that I'm being honest, and I guarantee the interviewer can see that too. And assuming the rest of the interview was good, they'll place a lot of value on this. It could be a differentiating factor in you securing the position. So in summary, when you try and come off the best as possible all the time, you might end up just being the most common, which in my opinion is a big negative. So point number 2, your entrance. Studies show that first impressions can be made in seconds and are often made in minutes. In an interview, this isn't any different, so simply, your strongest part of the interview must be in the first few seconds or minutes. The rest of the interview is maintaining this and confirming those subconscious impressions that you made as soon as you walked through the door. Some tips for this. Come with energy. You may be the first or the 21st person they're interviewing that day. Either way, come in with energy, wake them up, be professional, but entertain them. Another little tip, find common ground. So walk in and talk about something in the area that they may be able to relate to. So something like, I noticed there's a lot of coffee places in the area, they must get a lot of business from all the offices around here. In response, you may get, yeah, I go to the Costa down the road. And then you can reciprocate and start talking about that if that's your favourite place to get a coffee or whatever. But that's just an example. Another tip is to refer to the interview as a meeting. This changes the tone immediately and it gives the impression to them that you're on a level playing field. This commands authority subtly, and I don't need to tell you that one of the key traits of a project manager is being authoritative. These are just some of my ideas, but have a think for some of your own and leave them down in the comments and I'll pin my favourite one. So my third tip, the interview is a negotiation. You have skills, the interviewer has an offer. Why not use simple negotiation skills to help become more liked and trusted? One of these negotiation techniques is mirroring. Try to subtly and occasionally mirror some of the body language and words that they use. Be careful not to overdo this, as the interviewers can become aware of it and the effect will be lost, and you may end up looking a bit stupid. Now, I'm no scientist and I don't claim to be, and I don't know why this works, but after a bit of reading, it goes like this. Mirror neurons fire when you see an emotion expressed on a team member's face or read it in his or her gestures or posture. You then subconsciously place yourself in the other person's mental shoes, begin to recall and experience that same emotion. It's your mirror neurons that give you the capacity to experience the joys and sorrows of others and to connect with them on an emotional level. Another negotiation tactic is labeling. Labeling is the act in my own words, of disarming preconceptions and potentially addressing ones that are negative about you. If you sense the interview going badly, you may want to label this in a phrase like, you're probably thinking this. You may be surprised that I am this. I may come across to you as this. You may think I'm saying this. This then gives the interviewer a chance to elaborate on your conceptions, so a better level of understanding is achieved. It's an especially powerful tactic when pulled off, as it can help reveal more information and potentially key drivers for the person you're negotiating with. In an interview, it may uncover the true nature of questions that may not be obvious or were being covered up at the start. This will give you the edge to better understand what they want. And that's that. My top 3 tips you won't find on Google that will give you the edge in an interview. I really enjoyed making this one, guys, and although it's not my profession, I do love looking into how people work and what makes people tick. Do not underestimate how important this skill is in project management, and these tips can certainly be used in a ton of other situations. I really look forward to any feedback you have on my tips, and if you have any of your own, please leave them down in the comments section, as I'll be sure to be reading them all, and I'll most likely learn something new. Thanks for watching, and consider giving this video a like if you enjoyed, and subscribing if you would like to see more.